Hello there, music lovers. Thank you so much for dropping by. Queen just kicked off their new tour, and they're going to be taking it to the States a little bit later on in the year. As a matter of fact, they're going to be doing a residency in Vegas, and I did a video about that. I'll put a link up to it. As a matter of fact, that video is kind of interesting to me. I got a lot of these, and I was kind of shocked, you know. I mean, all I said in that video that I could think of that would maybe upset people is, I love Freddie. I grew up on Freddie. He's no longer here, and I don't want to see him with anybody else. I think Freddie is irreplaceable, and I think that Adam Lambert, he's good at what he does in his own little world, but put him into Queen, and to me, I don't give a shit. I really, really don't. And that must have upset some people that don't really like that a whole lot. Maybe there's a bunch of people who watch American Idol who watch this channel. You know, maybe that's it. Maybe it's a generational thing. You know, look, I grew up with Freddie Mercury. Okay, this guy, you know, is the shit. You know, when you went to go see Queen, he was such a personality. He was the guy that you watched. I mean, yeah, you watched Brian May. He's a great guitar player. But Freddie Mercury, I mean, he's the guy that's up there and can own an audience. Did you see him at Live Aid? Like, you know, Live Aid had all these bands and everything. Queen blew them all off the stage. Freddie Mercury owned the stadium over there in London. That's the kind of guy that he is. And so, you know, Adam Lambert is like nothing compared to that. It's just like, why would I want to waste my money and go travel to go see something that is so much less than what it used to be and what made it great? I think having the memory, having the videos that these guys put out. Queen, I got to say one thing great about Queen. I can say a lot of things great about Queen. Adam Lambert would not be one of them, in case you haven't guessed. But Queen, you know what they're really, really good at? They got the archives. You've seen the shows that they've pulled out from the Rainbow in the early 70s and stuff from the Hot Space Tour and all these great tours. They've got them in like high definition, and they look beautiful. They sound amazing. I'm waiting to get some stuff from like the News of the World period. I hope that's coming next. But you know, I much rather watch that stuff than watch Adam Lambert. So I can see the thumbs down coming. But you know what? Don't give a shit, because that's just the way it is. Now, they do an amazing set here. I'll give them that too. This is from Lisbon, Portugal, from last night when the tour got kicked off. And I don't know if they're going to change it when they get to the States. Maybe some of these songs are in here because they're in Europe. I don't know. But they kick off the show with Tear It Up, which is really cool. That's from The Works, the album that had like Radio Gaga and I Want to Break Free. That's a great Brian May rocker. They haven't played it since the 80s, so that's a really cool song to see them bring out. Then they do Seven Seas of Rhye, which is, you know, that's amazing. That's from the first album, or the second album. Tie Your Mother Down, love that song. Play the Game, that's a great one from The Game. That's the song that opens the album. That's the album that's got like Another One Bites the Dust and Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Then they do Fat Bottom Girls, love that tune, from Jazz. Killer Queen from Sheer Heart Attack, that's great. Don't Stop Me Now from Jazz. Bicycle Race. And then they do I'm in Love with My Car. That's a great one from drummer Roger Taylor, so he should be singing that one. Always did like that one. That's from the album that's got Bohemian Rhapsody. And then, of course, it was only a matter of time before we get Another One Bites the Dust. And then there's this song called Lucy, which is an Adam Lambert song, so who gives a shit about that, right? Then we get I Want It All. Now, that's a great one there from the Miracle album. That's a song that Freddie did when he was really sick, and if you go back and look at the videos, he's, you know, very, very frail, very, very thin. He started to wear these real long shirts, these real like long sleeve shirts, and he started to grow a beard just to kind of fill in the spaces because his disease was really getting at him. And it was really sad to see him doing like, I mean, that's what's so amazing about Freddie, is that he worked until the very fucking end. Like, he could barely get up out of his chair. He could get up and work for like a half hour when they got down to like the Innuendo album. And, you know, the guy gave it his all. He was there to the very, very end. The last video that he made for These Are the Days of Our Lives, I mean, he looks so gaunt. It's very, very sad. And it's very shocking to see. But he was there, like I said, right to the end. All right, after that, back to the Night at the Opera album and Love of My Life. That is a beautiful Brian May song. Really, really cool song there. Then Somebody to Love, and that's from A Day at the Races. And you know, getting back to people covering Freddie, the only person that I ever heard really do Freddie right was George Michael. You know, sadly, he's not with us either. Now, I'm not saying that George Michael should have been out with Queen touring. I don't think that he would have worked for some of the heavier stuff, but I think there was some stuff that George Michael fit in perfectly with. And Somebody to Love, I mean, he did a fantastic version. Then they do Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Of course, that's a classic from the Game album, which was the first Queen album I ever bought. And they were the first band that I ever got into. So you can see why I'm just a little bit, maybe that much attached to Queen and Freddie. And I remember after I heard that album, I had to have every other album. I remember the next one I got was Jazz. I got it used. And I remember I happened to be with my grandmother. We were at a record store and she knew that I loved Queen. She was going through the used albums, which I look back on that now and I think about that now and it's like, wow, my grandmother was looking through a used album bin, because I just never knew her to do that. But she knew what I wanted and she found the Queen album and she said, look, here's an album. It says jazz on it. You don't like jazz, do you? And I was like, I'll take it, you know, and you can buy it. All right, so now we get to the drum battle. And I could assume that this is a Roger Taylor piece. He may get out the timpanis and all that. I'm not really, I mean, I love Roger Taylor. I'm not a fan of solos in general. I did a whole video about that. I'll put a link up to it. Roger Taylor is known for having his timpani solos. You know, I'm just not, you know, it's cool and everything, I suppose, for some fans. I know that they really like it, but I'm just not too into timpani solos. I'd rather see another song. Although, I got to give him props. There's 26 songs in this damn show. So, all right, you want to bang around the drums, go right ahead. All right, then we get to Under Pressure. And that's the song, of course, that they did with David Bowie, another awesome singer that's no longer with us. What the hell is going on here? I loved Under Pressure, still do. That song came out on their Greatest Hits album. A lot of people think it came out on Hot Space, but that's not the case. It came out on their first Greatest Hits album, the black album cover. And that is just a brilliant song with David Bowie, one of my favorites. And that was a song too that I remember it crossed over. My mother used to love listening to it, and I always thought that was kind of curious. Okay, then they do I Want to Break Free. That's a great track from The Works. And that video is the one that had them dressed up as women. And that video got a lot of shit from a lot of people, you know, Queen dressed up as women. It was a total joke, and it was meant to mock a British show, you know. And so I don't know what the big deal was. Then we get to Who Wants to Live Forever. That's a beautiful track from the Kind of Magic album. That song was used in the movie Highlander, about this guy who lives forever, and you know, he gets to see everybody that he loves die, and so that's what that song is kind of tied into. Then we have a Brian May solo piece called Last Horizon, which leads into a full-on solo. Now, Brian May is a guy that I don't really mind seeing a solo from. He does a really cool job. I mean, he's got all kinds of sounds and styles shooting out, and he's just a great guy to watch. So I don't mind a Brian May solo. I really, really don't. Then they get into, now we're at song number 22. I feel like I've been here for like a week. So now they get to The Show Must Go On. This is from their final album with Freddie, the Innuendo album. And this is the song that closes that album. And The Show Must Go On is just an amazing, just so powerful and beautiful. It's a true Queen classic. I mean, how perfect is it that Freddie knocks it out of the park with the final song on his final album? And then we get to Radio Gaga. That's a song that was on the Works album, and I always loved that song. You know, they were given a lot of shit for using a lot of drum machines and that kind of stuff on like Hot Space. So what do? They come back with the Works, and the very first single that comes out has a drum machine on it and everything, but it was done in a much better way. The song has a lot of meat on its bone, even though it has these drum machines and Brian May doesn't really get to play much until the end of the song. It still works really, really well, no pun intended. Then we get to Bohemian Rhapsody, which, you guessed it, closes the show. And of course they got to do that. All right, so then we come back for the encore, and of course, what's that going to be? We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, and then of course, God Save the Queen walks them out. So that's the show, guys, and I must admit, that is a pretty kick-ass set list. I just wish it had Freddie. I have no interest in seeing Adam Lambert do this show. I really, really don't. I'd much rather live in the memory of the live albums and the videos that they've got out. But I give them props for a kick-ass show. So, what do you think? What do you think about the set list? You know, is it Killer Queen? Come on, give it a thumbs up. If you do, give the video a thumbs up. And let me know if you would go see this show. Let me know what you think about Queen with Adam Lambert. Am I being too hard on this guy? You know, or is it just that, you know, you kind of go with what you love? And Queen was a very important part of my life. You could ask anybody who knew me when I was growing up. I was a Queen freak. And I remember my father asked me when I was a kid if I would still like Queen when I was an adult, you know, when I got older. And I said very confidently, yes, of course I am. And, you know, you could ask a kid that about a lot of other things. And of course, now that they're older, they're like, no, I don't like riding a bike with training wheels. But no, Queen, you do love them forever. So anyway, that's my take on this whole thing. What do you think? Put it down below. That to the video, hit subscribe, and I will talk to you later.